Hello everyone, John AG here. Welcome back to my channel, Aurex. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. In this channel, you will find the real information, real market updates that everyone cannot tell you. So please subscribe to this channel and love you all of my subscribers for your support. And please watch this video till the very end because YouTube will not push my videos to more people. The algorithms are specifically designed to suppress exactly what we are about to discuss today. They do not want you to hear this. The financial establishment, the banking elites, and the corporate media conglomerates actively prefer a distracted, divided, and financially uneducated public. But you are here right now because you feel it deep in your gut. You feel that something fundamental, something terrifying and yet deeply opportunistic is shifting beneath your feet. Look out your window. Look at your local community. Look at the balance in your own bank account. We are standing in the middle of the year 2026, and the world is holding its collective breath. The mainstream media is working overtime, painting a magnificent picture of a sturdy, resilient global economy. They are smiling on your television screens, telling you that inflation is cooling down, that the central banks have miraculously engineered a soft landing, and that unprecedented technological breakthroughs are going to save us all from the brink of recession. But I know you are not buying it. I know you are seeing through the illusion. Because when you walk into a grocery store, when you look at the skyrocketing price of housing, when you open your energy bills at the end of the month, the math simply does not add up. You are working harder than you ever have in your entire life. You are putting in 50, 60 hours a week, sacrificing your time, your energy, and your health. Yet somehow, you feel like you are slowly, painfully falling backward. You are not crazy. Listen to me very carefully. You are not going crazy. You are currently experiencing the greatest, most profound, and most quiet wealth transfer in the history of human civilization. Let me be unequivocally clear about one fundamental law of money. Wealth is never destroyed in a crisis. It is simply transferred. It moves from the hands of the uninformed to the hands of the fiercely prepared. It flows like a river from the middle class directly to the elite, from labor to capital, from the people who hold melting fiat cash to the people who hold scarce, hard, tangible assets. And the window to position yourself on the right side of this monumental shift is closing. It is closing faster than anyone on Wall Street or in Washington anticipated. Today, I'm going to break down exactly what is happening in the global economy right now, how the rules of money have fundamentally and permanently changed in 2026, and what you must do immediately to protect your family, your future, and your absolute freedom. Let us start by violently tearing down the facade. Right now, institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the world's major investment banks are projecting global growth. They point to the United States, they point to the stock market hitting new highs, and they claim that consumer spending is holding up just fine. But what is the actual, on-the-ground reality? We are living in a deeply fractured, two-tiered economy. On paper, gross domestic product is growing. But ask yourself this: how is that growth being financed? It is not being financed by organic, productive economic activity. It is being financed by historic, unimaginable, catastrophic levels of government debt. We have entered an era where governments around the entire world are running wartime fiscal deficits during a period of relative, nominal peace. The national debt is spiraling at a rate that completely defies mathematical gravity. We are adding trillions of dollars to the ledger in a matter of months, not years. Why is this happening? Because the era of seamless, peaceful globalization is dead. The era where the world held hands, traded freely, and kept consumer goods cheap for the Western middle class is completely over. Look at what is happening across Europe, across the Middle East, and across Asia. We are witnessing a massive, coordinated ramp-up in global defense spending. European nations are doubling, and in some cases tripling, their defense budgets as a percentage of their GDP just to protect their borders and their geopolitical interests. But here is the hook. When a government suddenly has to pour hundreds of billions of dollars into military infrastructure, advanced drones, hypersonic weapons, and next-generation cybersecurity, where exactly does that money come from? It does not magically appear out of thin air. It comes from you. It comes at the direct cost of social spending. It comes at the cost of infrastructure for the citizens. And most insidiously, it comes through the completely hidden, unvoted upon tax of inflation. When massive defense buildups happen, they stimulate the economy in the very short term, which is exactly why the official GDP numbers look perfectly fine on the evening news. But they create massive, structural, unavoidable medium-term disasters. They violently widen fiscal deficits. This is exactly why your cost of living is currently suffocating you. The system is structurally, purposefully designed to debase the currency to pay for the shifting global world order. You are personally paying for the geopolitical chessboard through the diminishing purchasing power of every single dollar, euro, or pound in your wallet. Inflation is not an accident. Please understand this. Inflation is a deliberate policy. It is the only mathematical way a hopelessly indebted sovereign system can keep itself from completely collapsing overnight. The media will tell you that inflation is down to 2 or 3%. They will celebrate this as a massive victory. But remember what disinflation actually means. Disinflation simply means that prices are going up slightly slower than they were before. The compounded, devastating damage of the last 5 years is permanently locked in. The price of your survival has permanently reset to a higher level, and your wages have not even come close to catching up. If the debt and the inflation were not enough, we must now address the absolute defining force of 2026. This is the elephant in the room that is going to rewrite the social contract forever: the artificial intelligence supercycle. For the last few years, AI was treated by the mainstream like a fun novelty. It was a neat little chatbot that could write a poem, summarize an email, or generate a funny image. But today, right now in 2026, AI is no longer a novelty. It is the core infrastructure of the new global economy. Data centers are the new oil refineries. The amount of raw capital expenditure pouring into AI infrastructure, advanced semiconductors, and massive energy grids is absolutely staggering. But here is the dark, terrifying side of the AI boom that the financial media outright refuses to address with any real honesty. The productivity gains from artificial intelligence are going to be hyper-concentrated. They are going to be unevenly distributed, risking a massive, irreversible widening of structural societal inequality. What does it actually mean for you and me in plain English? It means that the owners of the technology, the megacorporations, the massive private equity firms, the top 1/10%, are currently experiencing a terrifying explosion in profitability, margins, and ultimate wealth. Meanwhile, the traditional white-collar middle class is facing a brutal existential crisis. We are seeing a permanent structural shift in the labor market. Roles in accounting, basic administration, lower-level software programming, legal research, financial analysis, and customer service are not just being aided by artificial intelligence, they are being aggressively and permanently replaced by it. If you are currently trading your precious time for money, doing a job that a highly advanced, multimodal language model can now do in 3 seconds for a fraction of a penny, your economic value in the marketplace is rapidly dropping to zero. This is a harsh, brutal, unforgiving reality. I take absolutely no pleasure in saying it, but as your host, as someone who respects you enough to tell you the truth, it is my absolute duty to warn you. The AI supercycle is the ultimate, hyper-efficient wealth transfer mechanism. It transfers the massive cost of human labor directly into the corporate profit margins of the elite. The stock market is booming right now precisely because these massive companies are realizing they can produce vastly more output with significantly fewer human beings on the payroll. The system is getting incredibly efficient, but that ruthless efficiency is leaving the average hardworking citizen completely behind. This is the exact reason why we are seeing such a profound, deep-seated sense of pessimism and depression among everyday consumers, even while the stock market indexes hit all-time highs. The stock market is not the economy. The stock market is merely a reflection of corporate profits and central bank liquidity. And right now, both of those forces are actively working against the working class. Now, we must zoom out and look at the geopolitical map, because 2026 is the year where the battle lines of the new global economy are being permanently drawn in the sand. We are actively watching the rapid, aggressive de-dollarization and fragmentation of the global financial system. The BRICS nations, led by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with their newly added partners in the Middle East and beyond, are actively and successfully bypassing Western financial systems. They are settling international trade in their own local currencies. They are aggressively hoarding physical gold at a pace we have not witnessed since the darkest days of the Cold War. Ask yourself why. Why are they doing this right now? Because they watched very closely what happened over the last few years when the West weaponized the global banking system. They realized that holding United States treasuries as their primary reserve asset is a massive, unacceptable national security vulnerability. At the exact same time, we are facing unprecedented global trade uncertainty. Tariffs are no longer just economic tools. They are being actively used as weapons of total economic warfare. The golden era of cheap goods manufactured in Asia and shipped seamlessly across the Pacific is officially over. Major corporations are engaging in massive nearshoring and friendshoring, spending billions to move their complex supply chains closer to home or to allied nations. Do you know what that means for you? It is incredibly, structurally inflationary. When you bring manufacturing back from regions with deeply suppressed labor costs to regions with highly regulated, expensive labor, the cost of the final product skyrockets. And who exactly absorbs that higher cost? You do. The everyday consumer absorbs every single penny of that transition. And how is the United States and the Western banking apparatus responding to this existential threat to the dollar's global dominance? You have to look at the legislation quietly being passed. They are actively creating a rigid regulatory framework for stablecoins and central bank digital currencies. Why do they care so much about regulating digital dollars right now? Because stablecoin issuers are legally required to hold high-quality liquid assets, namely U.S. Treasuries, to back their digital tokens. The government is brilliantly yet terrifyingly creating an artificial, massive, mandatory digital demand for its own toxic debt just to prevent a catastrophic, cascading collapse in the global bond market. They are integrating highly surveilled digital assets into the legacy financial system to keep the fiat dollar relevant in a world that is desperately, frantically trying to run away from it. The control matrix is tightening around us all. Between the CBDC testing phases and the heavily regulated corporate stablecoins, the immediate future of your money is programmable, it is deeply trackable, and it is entirely dependent on the solvency of sovereign debt. So, how does the wealth transfer actually execute on a daily basis? How does the money move from your pocket to theirs without you even realizing you are being robbed? It happens through a mechanism called financial repression. Financial repression is a complex economic term for a very simple, very brutal concept. The government and the central bank intentionally keep interest rates significantly lower than the real, actual rate of inflation. This guarantees that everyday savers lose their purchasing power year after year, while the government's massive debt burden shrinks in real terms. Cash is an absolute trap. If you are sitting there holding all of your hard-earned wealth in fiat currency in a traditional savings account, you are mathematically guaranteeing a massive loss of your purchasing power. The cash you held in 2020 has already lost a horrifying percentage of its true value. By the time we reach 2030, what is left of that purchasing power will be slashed in half once again. Furthermore, the traditional 60-40 investment portfolio is completely dead. The old financial advisor advice of holding 60% stocks and 40% bonds is fundamentally broken in a regime of volatile, sticky, persistent inflation. When inflation spikes unexpectedly, both your stocks and your bonds can and will crash simultaneously. The old safe havens are no longer safe. Meanwhile, your wages will never, ever catch up. Real wage gains are constantly and intentionally lagging behind the true, on-the-ground cost of living. The official government inflation statistics conveniently exclude or deeply manipulate the real, painful costs of housing, energy, and putting food on your family's table. You are handed a pathetic 3% raise at your job, while your health insurance, your property taxes, and your weekly grocery bills explode by 15%. The math is designed to bleed you dry slowly. The wealth is being violently transferred to those who understand leverage and who hold scarce, hard assets. Real estate mega investors are watching their fixed-rate debt be inflated away into nothing. Massive corporations are locking in cheap capital and ruthlessly buying up their smaller competitors. Institutional investors and sovereign wealth funds are quietly buying up critical minerals, global energy infrastructure, and massive swaths of private equity. They are playing a completely different game, on a completely different board, with a completely different set of rules. They desperately want you saving your money in depreciating dollars, while they borrow in those exact same dollars to buy real, tangible, indestructible wealth. You cannot save your way to wealth in a system that is mathematically designed to steal your savings. I did not make this video to paralyze you with fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear makes you a compliant victim. I made this video today to empower you, to wake you up, and to hand you the blueprint. Knowledge applied is the ultimate weapon against a rigged financial system. The window is closing rapidly, but it is not completely closed yet. You still have a brief moment in time to position yourself and your family. The greatest wealth transfers in human history always create the greatest financial opportunities for those who are actually paying attention. If you understand these massive macro trends, geopolitical fragmentation, structural inflation, and the artificial intelligence revolution, you can build an absolute fortress around your family. Here is exactly what the smart money is doing right now in 2026, and what you must deeply consider to prepare for the climax of this wealth shift. First, there is an aggressive, unapologetic shift to real, tangible assets. You must fundamentally decouple your personal net worth from the fiat currency printing press. The elites are quietly buying real assets at record speed. This means physical gold and physical silver. These metals have proven to be the ultimate, unbreakable hedge against central bank failure for over 5,000 years of human history. Gold is not a stock. Gold is not a speculative trade. Gold is money. It is an immutable insurance policy against the arrogance, the hubris, and the inevitable failure of politicians. This also means acquiring income-producing real estate. Despite the brutally high interest rates right now, the structural, systemic shortage of single-family housing means that holding physical land and property will remain a fortified bastion of wealth preservation for generations to come. Second, you must invest in the picks and shovels of the AI revolution. Do not just sit there and be a passive consumer of artificial intelligence. You must become an owner of the physical and digital infrastructure that powers it. The AI supercycle requires immense, almost incomprehensible amounts of energy, copper, advanced semiconductors, and hyperscale data centers. The transition is incredibly resource-intensive. The companies that physically mine the copper, the companies that provide the military-grade cybersecurity, the companies that engineer the liquid cooling systems for the server farms, and the companies upgrading the raw electrical grid. These are the quiet, massive winners of this entire decade. Third, you must understand the geopolitical trade. As I established earlier, the world is rapidly arming itself. Global defense spending is skyrocketing to levels unseen since World War II. Furthermore, governments are now bypassing the free market and directly investing in massive mining projects for critical minerals to secure their domestic supply chains away from China and the BRICS coalition. If you are looking to protect your capital and equities, you must look at the sectors that are deemed absolutely essential for national security and sovereign survival. This means defense contractors, domestic energy producers, uranium miners, and the suppliers of rare earth elements. Fourth, we must talk about decentralized wealth and digital scarcity. Love it or passionately hate it, Bitcoin has permanently cemented its role in the 2026 global financial landscape. As the traditional banking system becomes increasingly centralized, deeply surveilled, and fundamentally tied to toxic government debt, a truly decentralized, mathematically scarce, unconfiscatable asset becomes incredibly, undeniably attractive. Major Wall Street institutions are buying it by the billions. Sovereign nation-states are now secretly, and in some cases publicly, beginning to mine it using their stranded energy. It serves as a digital lifeboat, completely outside of the traditional counterparty risk of the legacy banking apparatus. Fifth, and perhaps the most critically important preparation of all, you must become entirely unreplaceable. You must invest heavily, aggressively, and immediately in yourself. In an age where advanced AI can flawlessly execute analytical, administrative, and creative tasks, true human value in the marketplace will shift entirely to the things that absolutely cannot be coded into an algorithm. You need to rapidly develop highly specialized skills in leadership, complex human negotiation, high-level sales, deep strategic problem solving, or essential physical trades like advanced plumbing, electrical engineering, and custom construction. If your current job consists primarily of moving data from one digital spreadsheet to another, you are standing directly on the tracks, and the train is coming. You must pivot right now. Learn a high-income skill that requires absolute human empathy and physical dexterity. Build a resilient personal brand. Start a localized side business. You must seize control of your own income streams so that you are no longer dependent on a corporate employer who will replace you the second the software allows it. Beyond all of the financial preparations, there is a deep, psychological preparation that must take place within your own mind. The mainstream media apparatus will actively try to keep you in a constant, paralyzing state of anxiety. They will violently bounce your attention from a terrifying health crisis to a looming foreign war, to a divisive political scandal, to an impending economic panic. Make no mistake, this is entirely by design. A stressed, anxious, fearful mind simply cannot think critically. A stressed, anxious human being cannot make long-term, strategic, rational decisions. You have to consciously, deliberately step out of the noise. You have to realize right now that the daily chaos is nothing more than the cover story for the wealth transfer. While you are wasting your energy arguing on the internet about politicians who do not even know you exist, the central banks and massive Wall Street asset managers are quietly buying up the very neighborhoods you live in. While you are hypnotized and distracted by carefully engineered social media algorithms, the purchasing power of your entire life's work is being drained from your bank account. You must take a deep breath. You must violently ground yourself in absolute reality. Look at your personal balance sheet today. Where exactly is your money sitting? Is it languishing in a checking account yielding nothing, just waiting to be eaten alive by the hidden tax of inflation? Move it, deploy it, protect it. Look at your debt. Do you currently have high interest, variable rate consumer debt? The credit card companies are acting as absolute leeches on your family's future. You must crush that debt with absolute extreme prejudice. Look at your local community. Are you completely isolated? Because true wealth is not just digits on a screen. True wealth is community. Wealth is having a network of people you can explicitly rely on when the global supply chains break down or when the local economy falters. You must actively build a localized network of strong, like-minded, awake individuals who see the exact same reality that you do. My friends, we are living in a profound, historic chapter of the human story. Decades from now, economists, sociologists, and historians will look back at this exact moment in 2026. They will study the charts. They will write endless books about the great fragmentation of the global economy, the explosive rise of the artificial intelligence labor force, and the desperate, thrashing, final maneuvers of the fiat debt system. And when they write that history, they will divide the population into two very distinct groups. The first group will be the overwhelming majority, the ones who blindly trusted the system, the ones who genuinely believed the television headlines that everything was sturdy and resilient, the ones who kept their heads buried in the sand, stayed in fiat cash, and watched in sheer horror as the rising cost of living permanently priced them out of the middle class forever. The second group will be the fiercely independent minority, the ones who saw the writing clearly on the wall. The ones who recognized the terrifying macro signs, took radical, uncompromising responsibility for their own lives, and repositioned their assets before the storm hit. This group will not just barely survive the great wealth shift, they will absolutely thrive in the middle of it. They will secure massive, unbreakable generational wealth for their children and their grandchildren. I want you, every single one of my subscribers watching this right now, to be firmly planted in that second group. This is exactly why I do what I do. This is why I spend countless hours analyzing these complex macro trends, cutting violently through the corporate propaganda, and bringing you the absolute, unvarnished truth right here on Aurex. I believe deeply in the immense power of the awakened individual. I believe with all my heart that when good, hardworking, honest people are finally given the right information, they can move mountains. The window is closing fast. The sands in the hourglass are almost empty. But you are awake right now. You possess the knowledge. Now, you must summon the raw courage to execute the plan. Do not wait for the government to ride in and save you. They will not. Do not wait for the central banks to magically lower your cost of living. They mathematically cannot. Your ultimate financial salvation, your freedom, and your family's future rest entirely in your own two hands. If you found value in this video, if this message resonated deeply with your spirit and your intellect, please hit that like button right now. Share this video immediately with your family, with your friends, with anyone who desperately needs to wake up to what is happening right in front of their eyes. As I said at the very beginning of this video, the algorithm absolutely does not favor this kind of truth, so I am relying entirely on you, my incredible Aurex family, to help get this vital message out to the world. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell so you never, ever miss a critical market update. I love you all. Thank you for your continued support. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and I will see you in the next video. John AG, signing off.